Hi, I'm Tom from Reality or Ghost. I'd like to tell you about Civil War facts and about death. Documentary on what I studied on how funerals and death were recognized years ago. Let's start with a funeral is a ceremony marking a person's death. Funerary customs comprise the complex of beliefs and practices used by a culture to remember the dead. From the funeral itself to various monuments, prayers, and rituals undertaken in their honor. These customs vary widely between cultures and between religious affiliations within cultures. In some cultures, the dead are venerated. This is commonly called ancestor worship. The word funeral comes from the Latin funus, which had a variety of meanings, including the corpse and the funerary rites themselves. Funeral rites are also as old as the human race itself, as well as other humanids. Citation needed. For example, in the Shanidar cave in Iraq, Neanderthal skeletons have been discovered with a characteristic layer of pollen, which suggests that Neanderthals buried the dead with gifts of flowers. This had been interpreted as suggesting that Neanderthals' belief is in the afterlife, and in any case were aware of their own mortality and were capable of mourning. Civil War facts about death. Between the years 1861 and 1865, the United States engaged in civil war. One of the most significant military confrontations in the young republic's life. The conflict dramatically altered the course of American society, eradicating the institution of slavery from the land and accelerating a number of social, economic, and political trends originating in other regions of the country. It also made lasting cultural impressions across imaginative and material American landscapes, including the gradual growth of a complex tourist industry built upon memory, patriotism, and consumerism, and the immediate expression of a deeply rooted, though politically sensitive, religious attachment to a distinctive Southern way of life. The Civil War, however, was a major turning point in American history. For another reason as well, it transformed altitudes and attitudes towards death and practices surrounding the corpse in the United States. Why antebellum America demonstrated mock diaries and letters in early medicine. The war led to the extreme escalation of certain tendencies emerging on the social scene, as well as to the production of entirely new views on death and the dead. The incredible numbers of young men who died during the war, the problems associated with disposal of their bodies, and the rhetorical and symbolic efforts to make sense of the lives lost had profound consequences for American sensibilities and institutional structures. The presence of death during the war years. Death was a pervasive element of a social life in both the northern and southern sections of the country. Up until the war, Americans were quite familiar with the presence of death, intimate with its consequences in their own homes and local communities. Some estimates suggest that in the North, where more accurate records of the period are available. The crude death rate in the antebellum period was around 15 per thousand in rural areas. and between 20 to 40 per thousand in more populated cities. Most people lived in their late 30s if they survived the exceedingly dangerous early years of life. Chances of dying in childhood were also quite high. According to the many studies, infant mortality hovered around 200 per 1,000 live births, and roughly 10% of the individuals between 1 year and 21 years died from a wide range of causes. Despite this close and personal awareness of human mortality, Americans during the Civil War had a radically different set of experiences with death than previous. First and foremost, this conflict produced more deaths than any other war in the United States history. The total number of deaths for both the North and the South in the 40-year period was over 600,000. World War II is the only other major conflict that comes close to this number, when over 400,000 individuals died in battles across the ocean. More demographic information is available for the Northern armies than for the Confederacy, which did not have the resources to keep accurate records on soldiers. According to some historians, roughly 1 out of 16 white males in the North between the ages of 16 and 43 lost his life during the war. Even more astonishing than the overall mortality rates for the entire conflict are the number for particular battles. During the 3-day battle at Gettysburg, for example, 3,155 Union soldiers died. At Antietam, during 1 day of fighting, the Union lost over 200,000 young men. The carnage left on these and other sites, for both sites, boggles the mind, and must have been overwhelming to Americans viewing photographs. Visiting battlefields or reading detailed accounts in newspapers. Another significant difference between this war and other wars after the Revolution is the proximity of the battles to the American communities. The Civil War not only took place on American soil, it pitted neighbor against neighbor, family against family, countrymen against countrymen. Can you believe that? More threatening to the American soldiers during the war than mortal wounds on the battlefield was the presence of disease and infection, which had the potential to seriously reduce the number of fighters on both sides. Nearly twice as many men died in combat. What did soldiers die from? Inflictions such as diarrhea, malaria, smallpox, typhoid fever, pneumonia, and measles wiped out large numbers of men on both sides, and women of this conflict. The deadly power of disease swept through the ranks because of the incredibly poor conditions in camps, resulting from inadequate shelter, contaminated water supplies, unhealthy diet, and a limited knowledge about proper sanitation and water, safe hygienic practices. As the war progressed, the Union forces worked especially hard to improve the living conditions of soldiers, and patients' death became an urgent public health issue that could be combated with sound. Rationally, decisions about such simple things as clean water, healthy food, and adequate sanitation. This is horrible. Arms and individuals hotboard with information about the deceased. Regionally, hospitals much closer to battlefields, on the other hand, could not offer the kind of attention that larger